Chapter 2, 8 FM, 101 May 2025. The woods, which were filled moments before with the ear-splitting cracks of gunfire, fell quiet as the Germans moved down the hill to join their already captured comrades. Then York and the other 6 Americans, who had collectively killed more than 24 Germans, gathered the now 132 prisoners and calmly marched them back to the American line. Corporal York epitomized the warrior ethos. He was tough, skilled, mission-focused, and lethal. Yet when faced with the choice of acting on bloodlust or showing restraint, he did the right thing. He chose restraint. There have been warriors and warrior cultures since the dawn of man, many renowned for their ferocity. The Spartans began training boys at age 7, the Aztecs sacrificed enemy captives to the gods, and the Mongols destroyed the cities they conquered to instill fear in future enemies. In the context of this history, American soldiers are unique. We do not ascribe to principles of terror and ruthlessness. We aspire to be warriors of character. Corporal York's actions may seem unremarkable to a reader sitting in their living room or classroom. As soldiers and as Americans, we know that it is unethical to fire on unarmed prisoners. Yet exercising discipline in the heat and terror of battle is not intuitive. Unfortunately, there are examples in our Army's history of times when soldiers did not exercise discipline, when they let the horrors of war poison their better judgment. In these cases, American soldiers committed crimes, for instance, at My Lai, Vietnam, Mahmudia, Iraq, and Maiwand District, Afghanistan. In the face of chaos, fear, and grief, Corporal Alvin York and the men he led did the right thing. They behaved how our country expects and demands us to behave in war. We must all strive to serve honorably, and it takes deliberate effort and practice. Disciplined troops that act respectfully and appropriately off the battlefield are the ones best prepared for the pressures and trials of war. The characteristics of professional units are discussed at length elsewhere in our doctrine, but this chapter will touch on what professionalism looks like in practice. See AR 6W 100 and ADP 6-22 for more details on the characteristics of our profession. Professionalism in war. War is always terrible. It destroys lives, families, and communities, both intentionally and accidentally. Through it all, American soldiers are charged with a professional U01 May 2025 FM U19 fighting aggressively but discerningly. This ensures that our Army is not just lethal and capable, but always the good guys as well. We defend American values with our rifles, and we uphold them through our choices and actions. In the Army, we remember cases like Corporal York's as well as cases like My Lai, because they remind us of what we should be and what we cannot be. Professionalism drives us to fight as well when we know that fighting is the ethical choice. In October 1993, when an American Black Hawk crashed in hostile enemy territory, during the Battle of Mogadishu, it was a sense of ethical responsibility that drove the actions of Master Sergeant Gary Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randy Shugart. Even though the crash site was inundated with enemy forces, Gordon and Shugart voluntarily inserted nearby, armed with nothing but rifles and pistols. They fought to reach and defend the downed pilot, ultimately dying in the effort. That sense of ethical responsibility to our teammates is codified in the warrior ethos of our soldiers' creed. I will never leave a fallen comrade. It illustrates what is required of American soldiers. As a leader, it is your responsibility to establish and enforce high ethical standards within your formation and ensure that the actions of your team, whether that's taking a knee or rushing into the fight, are defensible to the American people. Organizational professionalism. Progress was slow for Allied forces in Europe. By the beginning of fall in 1917, the Third Battle of Ypres in Flanders, Belgium raged on voluntarily, inserted nearby armed with nothing but rifles and pistols. They fought to reach and defend the downed pilot, ultimately dying in the effort. That sense of ethical responsibility to our teammates is codified in the warrior ethos of our soldiers' creed. I will never leave a fallen comrade. It illustrates what is required of American soldiers. As a leader, it is your responsibility to establish and enforce high ethical standards within your formation and ensure that the actions of your team, whether that's taking a knee or rushing into the fight, are defensible to the American people. Organizational. Progress was slow for Allied forces in Europe by the beginning of fall in 1917, the Third Battle of Ypres in Flanders. Belgium raged on, although the weather had improved by September. Both sides continued to fight through the muck and mire caused by heavy summer rains and devastated drainage systems. This battle became known for its mud and for its blood by the time the battle ended in November 1917. The British suffered around 300,000 casualties, a number comparable to all U.S. casualties in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Fortunately for the British, American expeditionary forces were arriving in bits and pieces from the other side of the Atlantic, although they would not support any major offensives until the spring. The Americans were untested and unhardened, but they brought hope to the Allied cause. Leading the American troops was General John Pershing, known for his dedication, zeal, and demanding leadership style. On October 3rd, Pershing visited the 1st Infantry Division headquarters following a series of underwhelming inspections at various training sites. In a fit of frustration, he berated the division commander, Major General William Siebert, in front of his